All right, guys, nice song at the end there for the credits. We just got through watching immediate reaction of watching Loki season 2, episode 2. We'll just go around the table here. We'll start with Adelia because she loves this character and the show from season 1. So, like, what did you think about episode 2, Adelia?
I loved episode 2. Man, that was a punch at the end, a gut punch. Like General Docs, I knew she was no good from the first episode. This just shows it. All
that girl don't ever play no good guy. Like sometimes they do these casting choices that are obvious, man. Like she ain't never good. I don't think I've ever seen her play like a good person.
But man, just like all the lives lost because they pruned those branches. I mean, it's good for the TVA right now, I guess, for the prospect of the temporal meltdown that OB's been talking about all episode. But man, that's awful. Other things that I did enjoy about the episode were Casey and OB together. That was just brilliant. I have a feeling that this was probably the only person who had ever actually really read the TVA guidebook, and that got proven true. I love how Greg said in our reaction, I wonder if he's going to get him to sign it, and then he immediately asked him to sign it.
It reminded me of like the Captain America like action cards from
with Coulson. But I love this stuff with X5 or Brad, I guess as we're calling him now. I loved the trickery between Loki and Mobius to get him to talk, and that time cube thing was really cool. I really, really enjoyed this episode. Loki is my favorite MCU character. I think he has the shittiest backstory of any character in the MCU. And I was so upset when they killed him in Infinity War. And I'm so glad that he's gotten this life after that. And I'm really excited to see where this goes from here.
Go ahead, Greg.
Man, it's just action-packed, man. It seems like it's just like you can feel the intensity, feel the weight of the like what's going on. You're just like, we're going here, we're going there, we're doing this, we're doing that. We got these missions going on during the whole episode. And I'm just like entranced with everything that's going on, and it felt so long. Like it felt like there was so much time that went on. It was only like such a not long episode. So I was like, yeah, it was jam-packed, and it just hit you at the end, like Adelia said. And I was just like, wow, it's been going.
With that at the end, I mean, so Adelia brought up a good point. So they showed something when you watch like that's one good thing about like actually watching the not skipping the actual intro, like where they're actually talking about stuff that happened in season 1, maybe even leading up to this episode, or even what happened in the last episode. And it showed like the little coin thing that had like the cracks and stuff in there or whatnot. Adelia knows the name. I'm not that nerdy to know the name of what it's actually called.
The Tempad.
So like
Tempad.
Exactly. So like
T-Mobile Sidekick.
You brought that up and noticed that might be what that is. But what do y'all think about like if she has that? I mean, what does that mean? Like she can go literally anywhere, even above and beyond with the TVA, or is it actually because it looks like it's cracked because it's got the lines that are glowing through it, so it may not even be working.
If I recall correctly, she can use that to go anywhere in time ever, whether it's a branch timeline or not, maybe even if it's a prune timeline or not. I don't really know all the details on how He Who Remains Tempad works, but that's definitely different than the ones they have at the TVA.
So can she go back and like stop it before all this happens?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. Brandi, what'd you think besides like the final song that you're reviving to? What did you think about the episode as a whole?
Listen, I like the credits. I was a little girl. I used to cry that I couldn't see Strawberry Shortcake critics. Don't ask me. I was like 4. But I couldn't even read them. But no, I liked the episode. I was like, what the hell's going on? And you saw that I was entranced in this and that stuff when he was. I was getting so this scene when he was in that box thing, I was getting claustrophobic. Like, oh my god. Yeah. So I don't know if you saw me getting a little tense. I might have. I don't know. I was too engrossed in that to see how I was reacting on the thing. But yeah, I thought this was interesting. I was sad about the timeline. Like all these people are dying, and I was like, oh no. But yeah, I knew something was up that lady. I knew it. I knew something was up that lady. She just didn't look good. She just doesn't look good.
And the pie.
The pie. Oh my god, yeah, the green pie. The pie was so green. And then I think he was so happy to get out of the pie, he went and got an apple pie when you notice he was like, this is so good. I was like, he's just sick of having key lime pie all the time, that he just got apple pie right away.
No, that's a mistake. I mean, my favorite part of the episode was the pie room. I guess you could call it that, since everything had a sign that said pie, and they were eating key lime pie, which is my #1 pie.
Oh, it is?
In the world.
Nice.
Yeah, that's my favorite pie in the world. Simple. Anybody can make it. It tastes good.
I won't be eating your pie then.
All rich and creamy, all up in my mouth. You know what I'm saying?
You can have the pie all to yourself, Justin. I will not take your key lime pie ever.
Well, thank God. You know what I'm saying? Consider myself lucky, like the beanie says. But with that being said, like, this is something I said for the first episode, and I'll say it again for the second episode. And I'm hoping what Adelia was kind of hinting to doesn't occur. I hope that can't happen. I hope that thing's broke or something, and she's just kind of looking at it and like thinking or something, right? Because that's my issue with the MCU, is that it's not been very, like, for one, emotional at a lot of times, and even if they do try to get emotional, they joke around too much. I think they got too much into that rut of trying to do this and that, but also like stakes. The stakes have went away from me every time except for this show. The first episode of this show got me hooked into it, just like Greg said in this episode particular. Like, it was like going from one thing to the other. I talk a lot, or maybe even say things or joke around a lot. I didn't do a lot of that in this episode, because of the fact there was a lot of stuff going on, and I wanted to hear and see what was going on. That's why I'm not the greatest reactor when it's like me seeing something for the first time, because I want to really pay attention and dive into it, especially if I like it. And this episode got me even more into it. But if there's some kind of cheap way that they can fix what they just did, like I felt the moment when they're looking at the screen and all these different timelines and stuff are being pruned. And, you know, they point out the fact that, like, even though there are lines on the screen, those are all people getting eradicated. Like, I was like, oh man, like I really felt that. It was like, ooh, dude, like, man, imagine being there and you were trying to stop it and you couldn't do it for whatever reason. And now look at all these, lives that are lost and stuff because of what's going on and because of decisions that were made and because you wasn't fast enough or whatever, right? That's real emotion. That's real stakes. And I felt it. But, like, let's say 2 episodes from now, the rest of this series is how do we stop what just happened from happening? And then they have some cheap way so they can just go to any point in time and basically have a chance to fix it. Well, at that point, I'm automatically going to know they're going to fix it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so the stakes go away. And this series, and I hope that don't happen, because this series drawed me in more than anything in the MCU in quite a while. Like, to me, this show is like prime MCU so far, and past the last few movies, besides like the Spider-Mans or whatever that's came out. But yeah, man, I'm really into this, and so I hope they don't use some cheap way. That's one thing. Like, when I was young, I used to collect the comic books and stuff, and I was big into it, man. And I collected them all the way up to the point they started doing the multiverses. And then slowly and surely, I kind of lost my love for it, because it was like anything in the world they can do. They can chop Spider-Man's head off, but then next week it's a new Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it just takes that away. And even as like a younger person, I realized that's important. Like I said, this series is bringing that feel. Like, I'm like, whoa, dude. Like, man, like, I'm sitting there staring, watching the screen and watching those lines go away, and it's just lines. But like, as soon as the person's like, oh, those are human lives, and they made a point to say that they're human lives, right? And I just hope they don't go back on that. I really think that's big time emotion. I actually think it's cool if they're like pruning and like making this thing more linear, so that we can have like a linear cohesive story, and they can't like cheapen out on like certain things. I mean, I know to bring in the X-Men and stuff like that, they're going to have to do something so that they can actually come in and it makes sense in their story and all that kind of stuff. So I know they're going to have to come up with some way to do that eventually. But like I said, I'm really loving the show, and I really hope it doesn't turn into oh, we can fix everything that just happened because we have this little keypad that we got from some guys.
Yeah. I don't think that that's going to happen, even though that's a question I had about whether that could, that TemPad could do it or not.
Good point. Like, I believe you. Like, what you said made perfect sense.
Yeah, the reason why I don't think it's going to happen is simply because we have all this Kang stuff coming in Marvel. Like, they can't fix it by the end of this show.
Or
like,
can they?
They can't. It's impossible. Like, they have too much stuff, you know, about Kang, and there's the Avengers Kang Dynasty movie coming out and all this stuff. The TVA is supposedly in Deadpool 3. Like, this storyline's going to continue. I don't think they're going to have this solved by the end of the show. I would love if they ended the show on a sour note, the way that the first season ended. I thought that was what made the first season brilliant, even though I screamed during our reaction when they ended the season there because I wanted more. I really think that they're not going to fix this in this series, but I do wonder if having that TemPad will play into the overall fixing of it eventually.
Yeah. I don't know. It kind of felt like a last season episode, right? Like, this would be like, oh, okay, they hit you the gut punch, and then you have to wait for the next season to figure out how this all unwild.
Thankfully, we just have to wait a week.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
I like the name of this episode's called Breaking Brad.
Breaking Brad, I love that.
But nah, man, like, and I think they actually kind of went hardcore with that Brad character as far as like them trying to actually get information out of him and stuff. Like, I love
they were breaking him, all right. They were breaking Brad.
Loki was kind of going evil to a certain point. You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of to his roots and everything. Because I hope they don't turn him into like this just pure good guy now. Like, oh, now he's
I don't think Loki's ever going to be a pure good guy.
Right, exactly. So I hope they like write him and keep making like this role right here. To me, is like him kind of going back and forth, where he's kind of doing something good, but then like the good stuff he's really doing is it's really kind of selfish, because I think he's wanting to like save himself, right? Like he's wanting to like save the power that he has and not lose it and all this other stuff. So like you can look at it as like technically he's doing like good things, and he maybe even saving the galaxy, but it's really out of a selfish means, right? Like as soon as everything's fixed and you think he's good to go, he's gonna grow the horn, put the horn helmet back on and walk around and do all kinds of evil things. Like, so I just find that possibly to be interesting. But like I said, man, this show's got me, because it's got me, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like there's stakes. It's like I said, the stakes in this one's like really good and intelligent. The stakes are about those lines that we saw disappearing that were humans, right? Like we know they're not going to kill the superhero or Loki of the show, but like, what about all these innocent lives that were like taken away because of what was going on and the pruning that was happening and stuff? Like that's real stakes. That like you can do things like that surrounding the show to put stakes in it. That doesn't necessarily mean that your main character has to die or their best friend has to die or whatever, right? Like you can do those kind of things. I think this show is doing it perfectly. And so I hope they don't go away from that. It's all the surrounding stuff that's bringing in. That's why I think the show's smart, because everything around it, we can't guarantee anybody will survive besides like that main core. You know what I'm saying? Like group that's actors in the show, but like all the other stuff, like all the other worlds, all the other timelines and everything surrounding it, it's a mystery. So like they can do whatever they want to basically to that, or we don't really know where they're going to go 100% and everything with it. So it just brings the excitement to it. It makes it fun. Like this show is legitimately fun.
I also like that hit on Renslayer's TemPad at the end of the episode, because that leads us into what the next thing is find Renslayer, figure out what her role in all of this is and where she's at. And I think that will lead us probably to a variant of He Who Remains, because she's somewhere doing something with one of them, I think. Yeah.
And it will possibly, do we still need Miss Minutes for the aura thing, or did the printing kind of like take care of that?
I think Miss Minutes will show up again at some point, but I don't know where.
Yeah, because I'm like, did the pruning take care of the like temporal aura thing that Obi was talking about, or did they still need that?
I'm gonna guess no.
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, we pretty much discussed this pretty quick. Like I said, this is supposed to be like a little quick. This is right after we got through watching the episode and everything
quickie.
else. Yeah, little quickie. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we got that done. You know,
we have our full review coming up on Tuesday at 7 p.m. PT on this channel. So check that out.
Yep. And with that being said and done, and it's time to end this. And hey man, guys, stay lucky, stay sexy, and we'll see you on the next week.